Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Chavruta sessions live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. We've been covering the wonderful work, the 8 chapters of the Rambam, and I believe we're on chapter 5 today. Excellent material. Always a joy to be with the rabbi, and so let's just jump right in and see how he's doing. Shalom, Rabbi. How you doing there today? How's everything in Israel?
On my personal level, thank God, everything is fine. On the national level, it's a bit more complicated.
Complicated, sure.
Unfortunately, yes, no, every day we have 2 or 3 soldiers, young kids, 20, 21, 22, 27, young
Yeah, babies.
families,
Yeah.
that they are losing their life with this big evil that we have here. Not easy,
Our
not easy.
prayers are with you and all Israel for sure, but we're glad to be with you today. Look forward to hearing what you have to share. I'm going to turn the class over to you, sir.
Okay, so first of all, we didn't finish the chapter number 4. What we saw last week was the principle, chapter number 4, and we need to dive inside a bit more to understand everything. The problem is that I lost the link. Maybe you have the link down. Just a moment, let me find it. I was looking for the link. Just yes, I know, I remember that. No, I need to save the link of this specific. Ah, I can't write it in English. Well, basically, what we said last week is that here is. Oh, I'll find it. Yes, here it is. On the Hebrew and the English, right? On both. Yes. I remember that. Okay, let me share the screen and let's say dive inside. And I want to. Here it is. Here is. Now we want to go to chapter 4, basically. Okay, we came to chapter 4. What we saw last week is that. No. Here it is. Second, 3, 4, what is okay. What we saw last week is that I will say that the main. I'll try to say it like that. I think we said it once, but let's say it again. Okay. Um, on a physical side, on the physical, I will say level, each one and one of us is separated one from each other. Okay. I'm very defined in my place. Okay. And I'm not more than that. And each one and one of us who is here in this room are on the same level. But we have also another side, I will say, as a human being, okay? And this is the side of the spiritual side, the emotional side, the neshama side, okay? And with this, we can get very close one to each other or be very far. For example, 2 weeks ago, we saw that in the United States, there is the Republicans and the Democrats. Those two, even in the same family, on the day of the elections, they are very far one from each other because one wants very much that Trump will manage to win these elections, and the other one is looking forward that Kamala Harris will manage to have those, elections, to win those elections. So this, I will say, um, debates of the side of the spiritual side is doing a big definition between people. But two Democrats that are managing to find one each other, they have, I will say, the same mindset, and therefore they are very close one with each other. So on the spiritual level, it's all a question of how much I have the same mindset like you. For example, we can sit here, okay, in this room now, And we're seeing people from totally different parts of the world. Okay, Angelica is 10 hours difference also, Dan, 10 hours difference than me. Okay, earlier this morning, today, Bart and me sat down, from Europe and from Israel, with people that in the South Korea region, and it's also something like 7 hours difference between us. On the other side, it's much closer to Angelica, but in the other day. Okay, so we're sitting from a lot of places in this room, some from Europe, some from the United States, some from North America, some from other places, but we are feeling very togetherness because in our mindset we have the same, I will say, concept, same mindset, same good feeling one with each other. Okay, and I can assure you, some of you already met face to face, and you are real people. Okay, not only on the internet. And I can assure you that when we meet face to face, it's very it's very harming. It's very good. It's a good feeling one with each other. The truth is, soon, hopefully, the war will finish here, and we will do a meeting in Europe, and another meeting in the United States, and another meeting, in Canada. And it's very nice to meet one each other. It's very comfortable. After 2 years that we are learning together, 3 years, whatever it is, suddenly we want to hug one each other. Okay, don't be afraid. I'm not hugging, except my wife. I'm not hugging any other woman. Everything is fine. But I have witnesses. Ask Angelique. Okay, but this is something that we need to understand, that we can be united together, all of us. It's a question of the mindset. If we're having the same, I will say, we are aiming in the same principle mindset, and we still can have differences, and the differences are very important, but we have the same, I will say, we're in the same buckets, with the same guidance. What we saw last week, in chapter 4, that God, and I want to state something here that it will be clear for all of us, and if something is not clear, so ask me. God, no one forced him to create this world. He decided to do this in his good will. Now, you will tell me, but in the world we can see a lot of hard things here. It's true, but we're getting life for free. We're living here. We see this nice universe, and we have air for free all of our lifetime, right? Usually we also have food, so sometimes we need to earn it in all sorts of ways. But we can eat every day. Life basically, in general, life is good. Fair enough. Well, what a wonderful world, the big song that we all know. So there are also hard parts, hard feelings, hard occasions, whatever it is. I started with the situation of the war that we have in Israel. I'm not saying that everything always is only, nice and good. There are reasons for that. We're not learning this issue now. Okay, why is there some badness in this world? Okay, we'll put this aside now. But first of all, we do have, God decided to create this world. Nobody forced him to do that, and he did it for the goodness of all of us, to give us life. Now, when we want to get connected with him, and he is a spiritual thing, he is not something that we can't even define him. Okay, we have no words to define him. He created the words, so we can't, we have no words to define God. We are using some sort of terminology so it will be clear to us that we're speaking about this Almighty God who created this world. But we don't really have how to define him, how to get connected with him. There's only one way: to try to behave in the way that he is behaving. And when we will be on the same buckets, on the same mindset, we will get connected with the goodness of God. This is what we saw last week. I showed you this in the chapter, at the end of the chapter, and also in other places, that the idea that we have here, that we're learning in chapter 4, is that when you're starting to behave in the right way, in the good way, you're getting connected with the source of good that gave good and life to this world. I said it once also, something again, from time to time we need to repeat things to remember them. that if I'm asking you who was more righteous, who, Cain or Abel, okay, so usually people are answering me that Abel was much more righteous. But we saw when we look on the scripture, when we look at the words of the Bible, that God never spoke with Abel, he spoke only with Cain. And we see also that the wording of Cain in Hebrew is that it's like the Messiah for Adam and Eve, because until she gave birth with Cain, she was only receiving life, and God gave her life. You understand how much they were separated one from each other? God was giving her life, and she was receiving life. So always she was very far from God on the spiritual level. On the physical level, of course, she's far from God. We're all far from God. God is the Almighty. He is without any limitations. We, as a human being, with the full limits in this world. Okay, we are physical. He is not physical. We are very far from God. But on the spiritual side, where we can hug or when we get connected with God, Adam and Eve, and God was so separated, while God gave them life, suddenly, without any, anything that forced God to give them life. And on the other side, Adam and Eve, only received life. So they felt very far from God until the moment that she conceived and she gave birth to Cain. Suddenly, she also gave life. Oops, I'm a bit like God. Cain was, in some sort of a way, almost the Messiah for Adam and Eve. Okay? And again, it's coming back to the idea that when we are behaving in the right way, and this is what the Maimonides said to us, when we are behaving in the right way, we're managing to get connected with God, who is behaving, the Almighty, who is behaving the exact in the right way, and we are getting close to Him because we have the same, I will say, desire of getting connected with God by imitating, by behaving in His way. And this is why the Maimonides said it's bringing us the goodness of God. We're getting connected in the goodness of God. This is what we've learned last week. Until now, if there are any questions, this is the time. If not, we're going to continue on. What we're going to see, I don't know. Are there any questions? Wow, we're all silence. Okay. Now, what we saw basically at the beginning is that he's saying that each, I will say, behavior that we need to take, we're supposed to be on the mid side. And I said last time, it's like someone who is going on the rope, and underneath him, there is, he will fall down if he won't go on the rope in the right way, holding this big stick, okay, to have the balance. So you need to be in the mid thing of everything. If you're spreading too much money, it's not good. If you're holding all your money, it's also not good. You need to give in the right way. Our sages are telling us that to give 10% or 20% maximum, between 10 to 20%, it's good. More than that, you're a bit, too much spreading your money. Less than that, than 10%, so you are very, I would say, thinking selfish, thinking only about yourself. You're forgetting that you're part of this world, and it's all together. That sometimes God deciding to give to the rich people the possibilities, so they will be connected with the poor people, and together they will bring the world to a better place. I said earlier today, we all know, for example, that there is enough food that no one will starve for hunger and die because of hunger. But on the other side, we still know that according to the United Nations, between 50 to 60 million people every year are starving for death because of hunger. And you're saying to yourself, why? We have enough food here in this world. So the main conclusion is that we're doing something wrong. We can discuss it from now till tomorrow, but there's something wrong here that we are doing. If so many people are dying because of hunger, while we have enough food here in this world. So we need to find the exact way how to behave, in the middle way, that nobody will die for hunger on one side. On the other side, fair enough. We're not going to spread food without anything, but we need to find the exact way how to do this. So this is what the Maimonides is studying. But this, I would like, in a moment, we're going to go inside for a few, I will say, principles of ideas that we have. What I want to say is that the Maimonides is doing something amazing, and he's taking, I will say, these. We all know that you have also a book with 1,000 chapters that is teaching us how to behave. From time to time, I'm opening this book, and I want to teach you that there is also what we call in English, it's called also in Hebrew. I will explain what it is. It's called Hilchot Deot. Deot is what is your mindset. You need to be in the right mindset. The Maimonides have those 7 chapters that is teaching us what is the right mindset in your life, that you need to behave in your life in the right way. Now look, today in our words, it's being called in English, the laws of personal development. Okay? We have, it's not from today. The Maimonides wrote down those chapters 850 years ago. Okay? Nobody spoke in this language, personal development. Okay? This is a new language. It's a new language, but the Maimonides wrote it 850 years ago. By the way, there are other books that are speaking about this thing, and the Maimonides is taking part of those things also from the old Greeks, mainly from not Plato, but from Aristotle, from the Aristotle mindset, but also from a lot of things of the Jewish traditions before we went out to the exile. Now, in those chapters, he's also explaining everything, how to behave. Okay, what are the things that you need to do? For example, okay, to love one's fellow Jews. This is something, okay, with us it says only the Jews, okay? To love the converts. When I'm saying the converts, it's also the Noahide. Everyone who converted from his tradition of his parents and came to join the Hebrew nation. Okay? Not to embarrass people. Look, think about this for a moment. Those things that are written down in the Torah, for example, okay? Not to gossip. I know personally, I know someone, okay, in Lithuania, Dan, you don't know him, you never saw him. But someone in Lithuania, in the last 25 years, he is teaching personal development growth in companies, big companies that have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200, 300 people in the company. And he's teaching them not to gossip. And he's calling this personal development of good connections between people inside the work, the framework that they have. Now, in the last 25 years, he is not Jewish, he's a Noahide. And in the last 25 years, he's teaching this, but he's not telling them that the name of this is not to gossip. But he's teaching them all the ideas how not to gossip that we have in the halacha. And he, as a Noahide, he's doing a lot of days in those places, and he's teaching them this thing, okay? Not to take revenge. Those are very, advantage, revenge, everything, all those things. And he's teaching here everything. Basically, it's very, very connected to this chapter that we have now that we're reading now in the Maimonides, chapter 4, in the 8 chapters. Very important point that he is also mentioning here, okay, is that you need also to remember who are your neighbors, because people tend to live one with each other. And if they live next to horrible neighbors, okay, it will reflect him. And if he is living next to good neighbors, it will reflect him. This is how life is working. One of the things that he's teaching here also, I will give an example that we read on this parsha, okay? We have in this parsha that we read yesterday, we have the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. and we have Lot, okay, the brotherhood of Abraham, and he was also living inside Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was hard for him to do the differentiation between him and them. And when God, because of Abraham, decided to take him out from Sodom and Gomorrah and not to kill him with everything that went down there, he went out to his daughters and to his son-in-laws, and he told them, let's go out from here. But they didn't want to. I will show you I will show you the moment for the sentence, the verse in the, let's see the verse for a moment here. Okay, it's an amazing verse, but it is, maybe it's 19. I think it's 19, just a moment. Yes, it's 19, sorry, 19. Okay. Please read verses 13 and 14, okay? What the angels are telling Lot and what Lot is doing with his brothers. Please, done. 13, 14.
Okay. 13. For we are destroying this place because their cry has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went forth and spoke to his sons-in-law, the suitors of his daughters, and said, Arise, go forth from this place, for the Lord is destroying the city. But it seemed like a comedian in the eyes of his sons-in-laws.
He's coming to them and he's telling them, look, I've got, the aliens from outside this world told me that they're going to destroy this place. And I'm going out. I'm running away from now. And he had more daughters inside there, that were living there. But they preferred to stick with the evil side of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they got lost in the history. Okay, we don't know what happened to them. They got lost. They got killed, whatever it is that happened there in Sodom and Gomorrah. So one of the things that the Maimonides is telling us in Chot Deot, in part of the chapters, is also this secret. Remember with whom you're going to be connected in your life, because it's going to influence your behavior. Okay, so let's go now. Let's dive it back inside to what's happening in chapter 4. Okay, and there are things that we already saw, but let's see more things. Okay, let's go continue us. This is what we saw. Now he's starting to teach us at this part how to change behavior. If we got regular to one behavior and want to change it. Now, if you will go today to what's her name? McCougill, I think it's her name. These, I will say, in the universities, also in the United States, but all over the world, they all know the secret that after 28 days that you're behaving in one way, it's becoming inside you.
A habit.
You manage to change. It's coming something very strong inside you. The Hebrew halacha already says that, again, very, very long time ago, that after 30 days that you're doing something, repeating, it's becoming part of you. But the Maimonides here is saying a bit one more thing, okay? So let's read this part, please. No moreover.
Okay. No, moreover, that these moral excellences or defects cannot be acquired or implanted in the soul except by means of the frequent repetition of acts resulting from these qualities, which, practiced during a long period of time, accustoms us to them. If these acts performed are good ones, then we shall have gained a virtue. But if they are bad, we shall have acquired a vice. Since, however, no man is born with an innate virtue or vice, as we shall explain in chapter 8, and as everyone's conduct from childhood up is undoubtedly influenced by the manner of living of his relatives and countrymen, His conduct may be in accord with the rules of moderation, but then again, it is possible that his acts may incline towards either extreme, as we have demonstrated, in which case his soul becomes diseased.
Okay, so the first thing that he's saying, that you need to remember that everyone
develops lifestyles and habits, yeah.
Yeah, but the habits that he's taking to himself is when he's getting, when he's going out from his mother's womb, okay? More or less, there are different characters. I'm not saying that there isn't, okay? But on the other side, they don't have any habits. It depends who was your kindergarten or who taught you in the ages of 6, 7, and 8. Those who taught you, those who gave you, I will say, how to behave in those days, your parents, your neighborhood, those are the things that are putting you inside the line of how to behave in this world. Okay? And when you're doing things, and again and again and again, this is where you're starting to implement to yourself your behavior. And when you look now at yourself, now we are old people, okay? We already came to the age of 20, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, each one of us. And God bless us, we'll be to 120, okay? Let's look and let's do calculations and start to think, rethink. There is a saying in the Hebrew, Rab Nachman Breslev, okay? The Breslov Rebbe, Rebbetzin, but this is for you. He says that it's a very bad thing to be an old person, and it's regardless your age. Always you need to be in a new, he calls it a new, fresh person, okay? Every morning that you wake up, think again. What are the things that you want to throw in your back, and what are the things that you want to do now as new things? Every day is a new day. Every day, one of the presents that God gave us, that we're going to sleep every night. We must sleep. We can't stay awake more than 3 days. Do you know that? I don't know if you know that. But we can't stay awake more than 3 days. And someone who is doing an oath that is going to stay awake for 3 days, on the spot, we smacking him and we telling him that he's supposed to break down his oath because he won't be able to do that. And those are one of the biggest presents that we got. And it's bringing us to a stage where we can open up our eyes every morning and say to ourselves, is this habit is the usual thing? I will give you a secret, I will say, idea what you can do. If you usually, when you wake up, you drink up coffee, wake up tomorrow morning, and instead of drinking coffee, drink hot water with lemon inside, or drink chocolate, or drink something else. That's it. And then you will see that all of your day, you're starting to think maybe other things in your life. Okay? It's very simple, because usually what's happening, people are doing the routine. No, stop for a moment. Wake up, okay? So this is what he's saying here. Now let's continue out a bit more, and please let's, and then we'll go inside. Please, please, done.
Okay, in such a contingency, it is proper for him to resort to a cure, exactly as he would were his body suffering from an illness. So, just as when the equilibrium of the physical health is disturbed, and we note which way it is tending in order to force it to go in exactly the opposite direction until it shall return to its proper condition. And just as when the proper adjustment is reached, we cease this operation and have recourse to that which will maintain the proper balance. In exactly the same way, we must adjust the moral equilibrium. Let us take, for example, the case of a man in whose soul there has developed a disposition of great avarice, on account of which he deprives himself of every comfort in life, and which, by the way, is one of the most detestable of defects and an immoral act, as we have shown in this chapter. If we wish to cure this sick man, we must not command him merely to practice deeds of generosity, for that would be as ineffective as a physician trying to cure a patient consumed by a burning fever by administering mild medicines, which treatment would be ineffectuous. We must, however, induce him to squander so often and to repeat his acts of profusion so continuously until that propensity, which was the cause of his avarice, has totally disappeared. Then, when he reaches that point where he is about to become a squanderer, we must teach him to moderate his profusion and tell him to continue with deeds of generosity and to watch out with due care lest he relapse either into lavishness or niggardliness.
I will say it like that. When someone have a fever, this is what the same concept the Maimonides is explaining. When we have a kid that have a fever, okay, his fever is very high, and more than what we have. Okay, not 36, you have 38, 39, even 40 degrees. So we're not going and saying, okay, now let's moving back to, something very, we're taking a lot of water, cold water. We're trying to take down the fever less than 36 degrees. So it will come back to the 36. We're giving him all sorts of medicines, whatever it is, to take it down more than 36, less than 36, sorry. So it will become to this level. On the same level, or on the same idea, when someone is too much, I will say, holding his money and not spending it to others. The main point is not by telling him, okay, give a bit outside. It won't work. First of all, he needs to spread out a lot of money, more and more and more. And when he's coming to the situation after a few days, 30 days, something like that, that he already broke, I will say, his stubbornness of not spending any money, this is when we're starting to teach him to come to the middle age. But he won't be able to come to the middle age before he's going to the other side at all. I forgot the name of this thing, but there are times that you're taking your ball, right, that is being held with strings, and you're putting it, you're taking the ball and you're holding it on one side, and it's going back to the other side. It's taking time to become to the middle side, because it's moving from one side to another side, from one side to another side. It's on the same level. When someone is on one side of the behavior, we need to take him to the other side, and only then he will be able to come to the middle age. This is a principle that the Maimonides is teaching. He is giving the same wordings in Ilchot Deot that I gave you before. If you want, I can send you the link of this. It's much easier to read it there, and I will tell you why, okay? Because here, when the Maimonides is writing it here, it's being, step by step by step by step. But it's a bit different. So, but now we're learning it here. Here it is. Now you have it also with yourself in the chat, so you can capture it. Let's continue a bit more, and then we will have also time for he's giving another example. Okay, so let's read this example also, please. Just a moment. Here it is. Please, Dan.
Okay. If, on the other hand, a man is a squanderer, he must be directed to practice strict economy and to repeat acts of niggardliness. It is not necessary, however, for him to perform acts of avarice as many times as the mean man should those of profusion. This subtle point, which is a canon and secret of the science of medicine, tells us that it is easier for a man of profuse habits to moderate them to generosity than it is for a miser to become generous. Likewise, it is easier for one who is apathetic and eschews sin to be excited to moderate enjoyment than it is for one burning with passions to curb his desires. Consequently, the licentious man must be made to practice restraint more than the apathetic man should be induced to indulge his passions, And similarly, the coward requires exposure to danger more frequently than the reckless man should be forced to cowardice. The mean man needs to practice lavishness to a greater degree than should be required of the lavish to practice meanness. This is a fundamental principle of the science of curing moral ills, and it is worthy of remembrance. Very important stuff.
Okay, so this is how to behave. Now, let's look again. We are not speaking about the body function, but it's a similar things we are learning from the body function, how to behave also with the main behavior. Now, the Maimonides gave us a lot of principles of behavior. Okay, he spoke about a few things before that, not only about the money, courage, whatever it is. He gave us a lot of things again, and you can see all of them also in the eight. This is the chapter, but also with Ilchot Deot, okay, with how to build up yourself, okay, personal growth. Today there are a lot of courses on the internet how to do personal growth. Okay, everything is starting with what? What is the main key point of everything? You will be surprised not to eat a limb of a living animal. Again, if you remember, one of the 7 laws of the Noahide laws is not to eat the limb of a live animal. Now let's think for a moment. What is exactly this, commandment? This commandment is teaching us that the human being is in a different level than the animals. Think for a moment about a lion. When the lion is hungry, he is catching the beer, whatever it is he's catching, and he's eating it straight ahead, even if the animal that he caught is not yet didn't die yet. Okay. Now, the human being have the possibility of waiting for a moment and to kill the animal and then to eat it, even though we are very hungry. Okay. And this is one of the differences that we have as human beings than the animals. And the commandment of not eating from a live limb while he is still alive is the beginning of us starting to rethink and adjust and learning about ourselves, how are we behaving and how to change our behavior. Everything is starting with the idea that we have the possibility of controlling our emotions, controlling our animal behavior. We are not animals. And this is what he is teaching us here. All sorts of ideas how to do that. So this personal growth that we have today is all of those principles that are already written down here in all sorts of ways, but more expanding them. And this is another very important point, and I want us to read this part also, please. Okay? On this account,
on this account, the saintly ones were not accustomed to cause their dispositions to maintain an exact balance between the two extremes, but deviated somewhat by way of caution and restraint, now to the side of exaggeration, and now to that of deficiency. Thus, for instance, abstinence would incline to some degree towards excessive denial of all pleasures. Valor would approach somewhat towards temerity, generosity to lavishness, modesty to extreme humility, and so forth. This is what the rabbis hinted at in their saying, "Do more than the stricter letter of the law demands." When at times some of the pious ones deviated.
Just a moment. First of all, let's understand that. Then we will continue on, okay? But this is a very important principle. If you want to become a bit more, I will say, don't stay exactly on the middle side of everything, but go a bit to the thing that is giving more generosity to others. It's also, let's read it for a moment here also, okay? I'm jumping to the Maimonides, okay? Let's read it here for a moment. Look and read number 5, okay? Please.
Okay.
A person,
Yeah. A person who carefully examines his behavior and therefore deviates slightly from the mean to either side is called pious. What is implied? One who shuns pride and turns to the other extreme and carries himself lowly is called pious. This is the quality of piety. However, if he separates himself from pride only to the extent that he reaches the mean and displays humility, he is called wise. This is the quality of wisdom. The same applies with regard to other character traits. Yeah, so it's a question of knowing where the middle mean is and when it's appropriate to go beyond or not.
exactly. Now, just suddenly, okay, so we understand that. The problem is that sometimes people are looking on those, I will say, those pious, those people that are very in a high level, and they think that we need to imitate them. Now, they came to this stage after they were in the right place, and they decided to themselves to take it a bit one step ahead. Okay, there's a very big sage of Rabbi Cook that was a very, very strong man, and Rabbi Cook told him that he needs to break down a bit his strength by doing from time to time not eating, doing a fast. And this is one thing that he did with himself, but it was a specific order or specific way of life for this specific person. It's not something that you're giving to the all, say community. Okay, it's not a way for the masses of people. Masses of people, the main way is to go on the mid way of the things. Now we need to learn it. It's something that you need to read it again, to see it again, to understand, and maybe to ask questions. It's okay for this. We are here. I'm here. You can ask me, send me emails, or we can speak about this next week. Because after all, you need to go step by step and to understand all the details of those ideas that in the old days we didn't have the exact names. Today, it's even a bit more complicated, okay? Because in the 8 chapters, it was written down in Arabic, and it was translated to an old Hebrew. But no, I will say I will go one way, even more than that. First of all, it was also being brought in the Greek language, okay, and then it was in the Arabic language by the Maimonides, and then it was translated 800 years ago by very important rabbis to Hebrew, and now we need to adjust it to the modern Hebrew. You know that, for example, we all know that Shakespeare wrote a lot of good, I will say, a good in a very nice English. But the experts are saying that if he will become alive today, he won't understand the English that we are speaking, because the things are changing, and more than that, we are also all the time defining more and more things in life. So we're managing to say words to define things that 200 years ago they didn't know how to define them, and we see that also in the sages of Israel. Okay, in all sorts of times, era of times in the world. So go, if you want to learn exactly the differences between those behaviors, you need to go to the Maimonides, mainly to the Maimonides in the Ilchot Deot, what we say. Now, I'm stopping for a moment, and I want to applaud Jacob. Jacob, raise your hand. Yay! Mazel tov, mazel tov. He had twins.
Yes.
The birth of twins in the last month, right? How
Yes,
old are
I have my son here. This is Ari.
Woo! Mazel tov. Now he's going to show another one.
Father, Noah, Naomi.
It's the same thing. Big mazel tov, big mazel tov. Have a great time of bringing them alive, and and bring them to let me bless you that you will see also their marriage and the grandkids and whatever it is from them, and all of you will be healthy and everything else. Okay, so we finished here this part, okay, till now. Let's continue a bit more in the chapter 4, in chapter 4. I have another, first of all, he's continuing on, okay? I will say a few things that in principle, and then we will try to see them inside. I want to say two more things that he's bringing in this specific chapter. And maybe I will say the principles. I will ask you to read it, and we'll speak about this next week again, okay? Principle number one is he is insisting, and this is, let me close it for a moment, okay? And then we'll go back to it. Principle number one.
Rabbi Hirschler's trying to get in the class, Rabbi.
No, give him the.
Yeah, I just gave him the updated link. So
Let's
keep an eye on
see Rabbi Hirschler. But I will say there are two more points, very important points that he's addressing on this chapter. First of all, he's addressing us that it's not the way of the Hebrew people to live in a way that we all the time not eating, not getting married, not bringing kids to this world, not behaving in such a way that we are not living in this world. We are in this world, so we need to live in this world in the right way. Point number one, and we need to address it a bit more. Rabbi Hirschler will speak in a moment, so I'm just mentioning. And the second thing is that he is insisting to show us the sin of Moses. This is something that we need to speak about. Now, for next week, read the continuous of this chapter, those 2 points, okay? And we'll discuss where's Rabbi Hirschler. Okay, in a moment he will come inside. And we need to understand why. Why the Maimonides is insisting of showing that Moses did a sin. What was his sin according to the Maimonides? And why is he insisting of showing that Moses did a sin? And I want to tell you something that will surprise you, okay? Rabbi Sharki and me, in the last year, we started to speak also with the Muslims, with the Muslim world. We sent a letter to the Muslim world, they answered that, whatever it is, and we started to meet a lot of Muslims, scholars.
Beautiful.
And one time, and basically we have a lot of scholars who stating that the Israel state, also Judah and Samaria, is related. It's supposed to be only in the hands of the Hebrew people, not to give it not to do two-state solution. Okay, what with Rabbi Hirschler? You spoke with him? We don't have any passwords. It's an open thing. So I want to say to you, after we spoke with this scholar, it was something like 8 months ago. Oh, no, Matityahu, hi, good to see you. After he spoke with this scholar, we spoke with this scholar, we said to ourselves, now we understand why the Maimonides is insisting to show that Moses did a sin. Now, Lo nora, me, okay? I'm not such a scholar like Rabbi Sharki, but Rabbi Sharki, who knows, you can't even imagine, he was one of the greatest rabbis that we have today. And he all knows almost everything. And he also, it was an eye-opening when we've heard him, and it's something that I'm going to teach you. Why the Maimonides is insisting that Moses did a sin. So those are the 2 more points that he's going to, that he's addressing in this chapter. I'm urging you to read them, okay? And we'll speak about them next week. Let me see with Rabbi Hirschler what's happening. Just a moment. We'll send him the link. Excellent. Rabbi Hirschler. Good to. Okay. I'm closing my microphone, please.
When you read the 8 chapters of Maimonides, one of the things which is rather fascinating is the balance that a person needs in order to develop a healthy ethical system. And he seems to be very aware of the fact that people have an illness when it comes to actually defining what the proper ethics are. Namely, it's not just a technical issue that some people have a moral scale and some don't. The real concern is the lack of awareness. It's like a person, and my mother was also a physician by definition, a medical doctor. People don't come to consult, simply they don't realize they're in that kind of situation. I don't know if Rabbi Goldberg got into that point this evening. Abraham himself in Genesis 20 is asked by the king of the I hope we're still.
We are inside.
I don't know why.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you well enough.
We have a good Wi-Fi. I see you. I don't know if you see me or hear me. That get a. I actually see my picture twice. I don't know. You don't see me now? I'm gonna look for a different position. That's usually where I've been speaking most of the time, but I'll try from here. Maybe it's better. You hear better now? It says here to turn off video. Okay, I'll try. I don't know if it's better now, but I'll give it a chance. You hearing okay? Are you hearing okay or not? Surprising, I must admit. I don't know what to say, but there shouldn't be a Wi-Fi problem, except maybe that I've used the battery for quite a while during the day, but I hear you well, so I don't know. I'll try again in any event, give it a chance. I don't want to take Rabbi Goldberg's time. You hearing now okay? Good. Okay, I'll give it a chance. What I'm saying is that the king of the Philistines asks Abraham, why does he deceive him and saying that Sarah is his sister rather than being his wife? And Abraham responds that when you're in a place where people are not God-fearing, people are willing to do anything. I mean, they won't take a married woman, but they'll make her into a widow within 5 minutes. And in certain countries, to change a person from a married woman to a widow doesn't take very long, unfortunately. It really depends on the ethical system that you have and that you are consistent in that direction. And that affects everything. The matter of patience, the matter of being non-stingy, the matter of being kind. This place of Sodom, which was read also this last week in Genesis 19 and elsewhere, I'll tell you an example. You can take it or not. I worked for a couple of years in South Africa, and one of the fellows there was saying to me, yes, Rabbi, you are not in favor of the apartheid system, but you know what Chicago and Los Angeles are like, and there was also plenty of discrimination against Afro-Americans. I said, you know what, you're right, but the difference is that by you, it's an official policy. There, it was something by choice of certain people. There was no official discrimination by law. When you develop a system which includes corruption, that's something which we have to be very scared of. So Abraham is saying, it doesn't matter what I will say about her, whether she's my sister or wife. The very fact that you ask such a question from a stranger who comes accompanied by a partner is not of your business at all. I think I have any interest if any of the people I'm speaking to now, what their marital status is. It's totally irrelevant. I take you as human beings as wonderful. This is not an agenda whatsoever. The problem is when you develop a system where ethics is not taken for granted as something which is a prerequisite for normal life, this is where this thing can happen. And the brilliance of Maimonides is that he takes that maneuver from the medical activity that he was in to the psychological and consequently the religious side as well. And to my tremendous thanks to Rabbi Goldberg of teaching this type of text, is that it has universal importance. And whether you're Noachide, and even if you weren't a Noachide, this is something that would obviously should be shared by mankind as a whole. And how much more so when you have decided as a very proud group to be more involved in understanding the Torah and realizing that this is something that we all are obliged to do. We have an obligation of what you call tikkun olam, to make this world a better place to live, a more ethical society, a more just place. And that has to be a prerequisite for any human activity. And, it seems like I'm saying something that Angela would say is very obvious. It's true that it should be obvious. The problem is that sometimes, and one of our scholars mentioned that a number of times, that we sometimes have to highlight things that normally people would think are obvious, because in our surprising society, there are people who think that it's not obvious. Somebody asked me recently, not from my group, but from other, that what happens if I copy in an exam without speaking in advance? So instead of answering the question, I asked the person, what do you think? Do you think that's okay or not? I mean, what disturbed me is not what the answer should be, is that there is a reason to think that it's a fair question. Why should a person have a thought that to deceive some other person is something that is a query whether that's okay? Why does it actually come to mind in the first place as an option? Why aren't there some basic ethics which seem to be universally accepted by mankind as a way of having our life together? Why shouldn't it be that way? I think that was fundamentally the revolution that Abraham was starting. And Maimonides, not only what Rabbi Goldberg is teaching, but in the first chapter of the Laws of Idolatry, goes into historical explanation about that dramatic revolution that Abraham was bringing forward. And I must say that I see you people, and I hope you hear me well enough now, I see you people as wonderful representatives around the world to bring that message of Maimonides and basically of the Torah to the world at large, to develop that balance of proper ethics, not to be extremely greedy and not extremely generous, but to be reasonable, to always be telling the truth and being kind to other people and being receptive. It sounds maybe surprising that I need to mention this kind of thing, but if I hadn't seen so much in the world otherwise, I would have also thought that it's obvious, but it's not. I want to tell you that it's not obvious. And once you understand that it's something that we need to improve, you can always grow further with it all the time. But I prefer to start off with the basic. And every year when we read the Torah again and we're in Genesis once again, we see that these fundamental faiths that have been around for over 5.5 millennia still need to be developed. So I want to wish you a wonderful week. And again, thanks to Rabbi Goldberg and to Chacham Dan for inviting me to speak. And I apologize if I wasn't heard well enough due to unforeseen circumstances. But if you want to comment, you're more than welcome.
Oh, Rabbi Hirschler, we so appreciate every time you do show up in this class. You always got some beautiful points to add. And the last several minutes came across real clear. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Does anybody in the class have any questions about today's lesson or concern? I mean, from my vantage point, the way I see is if you're dealing with two extremes and a person's soul is ill in one direction or the other, I think what the Rambam's teaching is to find the middle ground. You need to know what that is to a degree, but often if you're too far given in one direction, you need to come back past the middle ground for a period and then balance out. And certain traits are more difficult to alter than others, and it's a question of what is legitimately say ethical kindness versus wet blanket kindness. I mean, yeah, you can't go to the extreme without running into certain problems and difficulties. And yeah, I think the world would be a better place if people understood how to adjust their own lives in a way that enabled them to be more effective wherever they are. Anybody in the class got any questions for the rabbi? Everybody's quiet.
You also need to diagnose that you're ill and to realize that you're one of those three situations that he mentions. That you're not everybody diagnoses that he's ill and doesn't refer to the right people to find out. Also, like you're saying.
Yeah,
this is one of the
for
first
sure.
important points that he is mentioning, especially in the beginning, in chapter 1, and also now in chapter 4. He mentioned it. We need to understand that we are ill. Okay, this is, and I said it's already related with the commandment of not eating from a live limb, that from a live animal, because when we have the possibility of having a bit of patience and not behaving like an animal, this is where we're coming up one stage more than the animals and starting to do personal growth, personal improvement. And this is how we call those halachot, those commandments, how to behave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody is very
Self-control.
silent today. So maybe we manage to knock off everybody. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, yeah, we got 14 people in the room, and yeah. We're also joined on YouTube. We got our old friend Timothy Klein out there. I've just been saying hi. I haven't seen him in a while, and so it was good to see him. And there's a lot of people out there wishing Jacob big mazel tov. So congratulations. Yeah.
It's twice, not once, twice.
I know. Beautiful children.
Fair enough.
So boring and balance for me. Those are two different words, boring and balance. Now, I get bored sometimes. And so I'm saying, okay, Hashem, what's next? At my age, I only can do certain things. And I'm like, okay. So Hashem gives me ideas, and I'm out there now to do them. So, yeah, we have our open house is still open. So if anybody still wants to come, they're welcome. You just need to let me know. So the last people that came here, they are now on their way to Texas. And they are newly married. And yeah, they're doing well. And we send them off that way. And it's amazing. Then they come back again. And that is, I love to do that. So yeah, in the winter, it becomes maybe a little boring. So Hashem, give me something else to do. But yeah, we'll see how it's
That's
gonna
Canada
go.
for you. Yeah, Canada's a big country, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely good. It'll all happen.
I want to witness that it's very, it's amazing to be accepted in the house of Angelica and the husband. I'm endorsing it.
Yes, you got to stay there one night when you were here a couple of years ago. Yeah, Rabbi. Yeah, you got to stay there one night before your flight took out. Yeah, your flight was kind of got bunged up. I think your flights were.
But I'm
put
going
off.
to come to Israel. But I'm going to come to Israel soon. Yeah, I want to do that.
You're all welcome. You're all welcome. It's a bit hard now, but you're welcome also to come. It's okay.
It's on my bucket list as well. Well, we got a good group here in the chat. Nobody's got anything to say other than Ange. We appreciate it. Who else have we got in here? Bart, you got any comments or questions you want to add?
No, no. I'm just thinking about all these things. So, yeah, not now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful,
It's
beautiful
okay.
book. I've gone through it several times. It's very foundational as far as ethics is concerned, and helps one to understand what
Dat is een Canadees.
balanced behavior or balanced conduct is. Yeah, to know when you're ill is a very, very
En dat is zo raar
big
dat
thing.
jij in het
If you're
groot
not,
staat. En dat is zo raar dat jij in het groot staat.
there we go.
It's okay.
Well, Rabbi,
So
on that
again,
note,
so I'm asking again. I'm asking for next week. We're hopefully going to meet next week, but please continue on reading it. Okay, this chapter, those 2 points that I mentioned, and we're going to discuss them, and you're going to be surprised. It's okay. We are going to be surprised. Okay, fair enough.
okay, so
have
we're
a blessed-
definitely aiming for next week. Now, yeah, while we were holding this class, I got a message from Rod Bryant down in Houston. I have to cancel my next session with Rabbi Ingber. Rod's in the hospital at the moment, so we're praying for him. And he's got an infection in his leg, and he's waiting for a doctor to look at it, so he has to cancel our Zoom class after this one, which is usually at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. My time. Yeah, so those of you that'll be joining, usually in about, it's about 80 minutes from now, I usually go live with Rabbi Carmi Ingber, but we got to put that class off till next week. Things happen. People have lives to live, and we appreciate the group down in Houston. But it was so nice to see Rabbi Hirschler join us today, and Rabbi Goldberg. Always a joy to be with you. Know you're in our prayers, and you and all Israel, and thank you for sharing the 8 chapters of the Rambam with us. So we're going to finish chapter 4 next week. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All
We're
right.
going to finish
So,
chapter 4, and then we will dive inside, and then we're growing up, because from chapter 5, it's already second part of the book.
yes, if you want to learn to be a soul surgeon yourself, you've got to learn to proper diagnose, and more than that, you've got to, that's what I love, that definition of what he defines as wisdom and piety in Diot there for sure. There's lots to know the difference of when one is a wise person and when one is pious, and you're going past a certain point for a purpose, because you're leaning towards the more beneficial, societally beneficial side, between two extremes. But when you read more and more and you see where these extremes are, it just opens your eyes, and you can learn where you can adjust your life yourself. And I like how his answer is to pull back further than the mean for a period and then balance out, because certain traits, you can't just go soft on them. They've got to be, turned away from hard in order to develop them into habits and lifestyle and behavioral patterns in your life. And if you want to have a healthy soul, you've got to have the proper behaviors and lifestyle patterns. So keep that in mind. So on that note, I'm going to sign out for today, but we will be back next week, Hashem willing, with more of our Chavruta sessions live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. So till then, have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Bye. See you all. Have a great week.
Bye.